Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Code for Kids CAPS Coding and Robotics webinar. We are thrilled to have so many of you joining us for the second part of our CAPS webinar today, where we will be sharing some tips, some tricks, and resources to help you start your school's coding journey. So just some housekeeping before we get going. Please make use of the Zoom chat to share any feedback, comments, or ideas that you have. Share with us where you're joining us from today. If you have any questions for our expert, Kim, or for the Code for Kids team, please make use of the Q&A tab to ask these. Our team will monitor the Q&A and respond to you either in this session, or if we're unable to get back to you, we'll email you post the webinar. Code for Kids is excited to host a series of webinars to help you start your coding and robotics journey. Last month, we welcomed an amazing panel that answered your burning questions regarding the CAPS Foundation Phase document. If you missed that session, you can catch the recording by visiting our website, c4k.io. Today, we are happy to bring you more information about the intermediate and senior phase documents, as well as practical lesson ideas for the foundation phase class. Over the next 2 months, we will host the Code for Kids teacher training, which aims to equip you with the skills and resources to confidently use the Code for Kids platform to teach CAPS-aligned coding and robotics lessons. So without further ado, let's dive in. Coding and robotics has become more essential life skills than just subjects to complete at school. We all know that it ignites curiosity and boosts problem-solving skills, preparing our students for a tech-driven world. Today, we aim to showcase how easy it can be to turn coding and robotics into a fun adventure for both you and your students. Shortly, I'll introduce you to our expert for today, Kim Rossouw. Kim is here to answer some questions about her journey to becoming the head of innovation at Wynberg Girls Jnr School and share advice on how you can get started with your own journey to bringing coding and robotics to your school. We'll dive into a summary of the recently released CAPS Coding and Robotics documents for the foundation, intermediate, and senior phases. And we'll share all we know regarding the implementation timeline. Lastly, we have Code for Kids Teacher Success Representative Alison van Staden will be sharing the best tips and tricks for practically teaching coding concepts to your students. She will share ideas used by teachers in the classroom and demonstrate how the Code for Kids curriculum can help you bring coding and robotics to your students in a fun, easy, and engaging way. Let's dive in and meet Kim. As the head of innovation for coding and robotics at Wynberg Girls Jnr School in Cape Town, Kim has the privilege of connecting with all departments in the school to ensure that innovative teaching and learning is taking place throughout. We at Code for Kids have been working with Kim for a number of years and continue to be inspired by the amazing work that she does with her school. Kim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Demi. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the Code for Kids team as well. I'm looking forward to sharing and learning from everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim, for being here. So let's start by looking at your journey in coding and robotics. Many teachers on this webinar are feeling anxious about how to upskill themselves and where to get information and start getting training to implement coding and robotics. Can you share with us what was your approach to learning coding and robotics and upskilling yourself in preparation to teach this subject?
Sure. So I think a large part of my journey, and possibly a large part of what many people are feeling at the moment, is that it has to be self-driven. I would start with a lot of research. My computer has a million tabs open all at the same time with articles that I need to read, videos that I need to watch, just to learn a few extra things that I'm feeling unsure about. So I think, you know, having that drive to do a little bit of research yourself, using platforms like these webinars, possibly looking on social media platforms. There's a lot of amazing content that's being shared and ways that you can learn through that as well. I would also say that one way my approach to learning it was doing it myself. If I saw a great lesson idea, I would, at home, in my own time, be the student and go through the lesson and do the experience to kind of feel where are the niggles going to be, where could possible questions come up. And then I think the biggest thing, and I preach this all the time, is ask. If you don't know, ask. Ask other schools, ask colleagues that you know, whether you're connecting with them using X or previously, you know, was Twitter, or sending an email to someone or meeting through another colleague. Everyone is in the same boat. Everyone is feeling overwhelmed, and it doesn't hurt to ask. So definitely would say people are very willing to help. So, and then the last thing I would say is take risks. I think we have to model this for our students. So when I was upskilling myself to teach coding and robotics, this was kind of my big motto, is take a risk. If it fails, it's okay. That's one of the main things about doing coding and robotics, you know. If it doesn't work, let's debug, let's find out why. So yeah, those would be the ways that I approach teaching coding and robotics.
Kim, that's such brilliant advice. And, you know, asking is such an important thing. Often we feel like we've got to do this by ourselves, and, you know, everybody is in the same boat. So we should use that and ask a ton of questions. Now, we know that there are tons of tools out there for teachers to use, but it can become very overwhelming with the amount of resources that's available and then having to go through all of them before you use them. When you were building your coding and robotics program, how did you choose which tools and resources to use? What were some of the factors that influenced your decisions?
Thanks, Demi. This is a really good question, because I feel in a lot of ways, sure, we are so lucky to have so many resources at our disposal in South Africa, especially with this new curriculum, but it definitely can feel overwhelming. So I think what our strategy was at Wynberg was kind of to align two things. One being the strategic plan of the school. This was before the curriculum became available. So where did our schools see themselves? Where did we want to be in the space? Of course, I have to say budget is also a factor. So making sure that whatever the budget is that's available, we work with that. And I think the new aspect that's come in, obviously being the release of the curriculum, it helps a lot because it gives guidance, especially with the foundation phase curriculum. The majority, in fact, probably all of it, is unplugged. So that gives a little bit of breathing space now. Schools know that they can do the curriculum well without any technological resources. From grade 4 and up, when that starts getting phased in from 2026, it's mostly web-based. So perhaps schools can look at getting resources that are more devices, such as computers or tablets or laptops, you know, starting small. We have time, which is lucky, and I think that could be a good starting point. You know, one can always build your resources to include devices like robots and things at a later stage. And I think that's at Wynberg, that's kind of where we are now. We had a plan, we implemented the plan, we started with devices, and we've managed to slowly grow our resources to include some robotics kits, which is just incredible. So yeah, I think that would be the strategy really for kind of not getting overwhelmed by everything that's available.
Yeah, that's actually really brilliant, starting off small and growing over the years. And like you said, we have the time. We still have the time to do all of this. So instead of jumping in, let's take it slow. Thanks, Kim.
Mm.
That's amazing advice. So sticking to the topic of resources and tools, many schools have built a well-rounded curriculum by using different software and hardware. Can you walk us through how you brought together different pieces, such as tools and resources and software, to create this well-rounded coding and robotics curriculum?
Thank you. So I definitely would say that it's taken us a good few years. It didn't happen overnight to create this well-rounded curriculum. So I think with this mountain that's ahead of us, let's take it one step at a time, which is helped by this curriculum that's been put out, because it really gives us structure and a really solid framework to work from. So in our case, it really helped to attend workshops, webinars, conferences, connecting with people, finding out, like I said earlier, asking other schools what resources have worked for them, how have they implemented it, and then considering whether that would work in our situation. And I think when it comes to marrying all these things together, one has to think about flexibility within the resource. Is this resource something that I can use for many different grades, or even foundation and intermediate phase? Like, what am I going to get the most value out of from this product or resource or tool? So yeah, I think thinking about how we can use our resources kind of for the whole of primary would be one of the ways that we've managed to do that. And then asking around. I keep saying it. People are willing to help and give advice. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Kim. That really is great insight, and I'm sure already that the teachers here today are feeling more at ease about their own coding journey. So our last question for you is, what advice would you give to teachers who are just starting out with coding and robotics? Any tips or tricks that you've learned along the way?
So I actually want to share a comment that I read recently, and I thought this just fits together so well. It says, mastery begins with a commitment to suck at something for long enough to learn. All talent is earned in the trenches, and I feel like that is where we are. We are in the trenches, but as long as we stick it out for long enough, we're going to learn and we're going to grow from it. So I think my first thing is persevere. It is challenging, it is overwhelming, but just take a step back. Let's, with this curriculum, which is going to be so helpful, let's just take it term by term, grade by grade, and see how we can implement this amazing new curriculum. I would also say one has to be willing to put in a little bit of extra effort. This is a brand new curriculum, so we are going to have to spend a little bit more time becoming masters of it. It is such an incredible, experience that we've been part of. We're making history here. So let's just tackle it head on, one step at a time. And I think, being part of this webinar is a good first step. We're learning about the curriculum, becoming more familiar with what's expected of us. So yeah.
Kim, thank you so much. It's amazing advice that you've shared with teachers. It is a trying time now. It's something new, it's something exciting, and it's something that, teachers should be motivated and excited to bring in. And we've got this great curriculum. In a moment, we'll delve a little bit into each of those curriculums and see what's the core of them. So thank you, Kim, for your insights, for your advice, and for sharing a bit about your journey with us today. If
Yes.
you have any questions for Kim, please pop them in the Q&A tab and we'll answer them at the end of today's session. If you'd like to know more about Kim's setup at Wynberg Girls Jr., or if you'd like to visit her school and see her space, Kim has graciously extended her email address to you, which you can find on screen. Please feel free to reach out to her. Kim, again, a very, very big thank you for being here and answering some of our questions. So let's dive into the CAPS curriculum. During our previous webinar, Ashrik Don, the Deputy Chief Education Specialist at the Western Cape Department of Education, mentioned that the foundation phase coding and robotics curriculum will start in 2025, that's next year. Intermediate phase in 2026, and senior phase the year after in 2027. However, all three documents have been published by the Department of Education at this time. And more information about the time allocation can be found in each of these documents. So let's break it down a bit. The foundation phase CAPS document aims to develop computational thinking, problem solving, design thinking, and digital literacy from a young age. The specific skills that's emphasized in the document include things like algorithmic thinking, debugging, understanding patterns, coding, and basic robotics. Students are also introduced to digital citizenship, including safe and responsible use of technology. There are three strands to the document, which focus on one, coding, which involves basic operations such as sequencing, pattern recognition, and developing simple algorithms using pictures and symbols. Two, robotics, focusing on understanding what robots are, their components, and their applications. Students engage in hands-on activities to create simple robotic artifacts. And the last one, digital concepts, covering the basics of technology, including understanding computing devices in the digital world and the importance of digital citizenship. The curriculum promotes a problem-based learning approach, encouraging active, learner-centered education. It integrates cooperative learning, pair programming, and deliberate practice to enhance students' engagement and understanding. And activities are designed to be hands-on and interactive, with an emphasis on problem solving and real-world applications. Now imagine having a clear roadmap for teaching coding and robotics that perfectly aligns with the CAPS curriculum. At Code for Kids, we've done the groundwork for you. Our lessons are meticulously mapped to the CAPS requirements, ensuring that every activity contributes to your students' overall development. What you see on screen is the Code for Kids Grade R curriculum map found in our teacher guide. Each lesson is color-coded to the relevant CAPS competencies. Our comprehensive teacher guides go beyond just lesson plans. They offer invaluable insights into the specific competencies and skills that your students will acquire, guiding you as a teacher step by step throughout the year. If we look a little deeper into the intermediate phase CAPS document, we see that the curriculum is designed to be interdisciplinary, integrating components from science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, your STEAM subjects. It focuses on developing computational thinking, problem solving, creativity, and innovation in students, preparing them for the fourth and fifth industrial revolutions. Again, we see the key competencies that students should develop in coding, robotics, and digital concepts. The curriculum moves to include a process-driven problem-based learning approach, encouraging active learner-centered education. And lastly, when we look at the senior phase CAPS document, we see that the curriculum is designed to be interdisciplinary again, connecting coding and robotics with other subjects like natural science, mathematics, and life orientation. The curriculum aims to develop computational thinking, design thinking, and problem-solving skills. It also focuses on fostering creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and ethical behavior in a digital world. Students are expected to develop competencies in coding, robotics, and digital literacy, preparing them for future careers in STEAM fields. All three documents have much more information around the strands, teaching approach, assessments, time allocation, and so much more. You can download your copy of the CAPS document by scanning that QR code on screen or visiting the link that's going to be popped in the chat. I'm now delighted to introduce Alison, our teacher success representative at Code for Kids. Many members of the Code for Kids team are experienced educators who have first-hand knowledge of the challenges teachers face in the classroom. Alison brings a wealth of EdTech experience to the team, having started her EdTech journey in 2016, teaching IT at Wynberg Girls Jnr school. With extensive experience supporting hundreds of schools around South Africa and around the world, Alison is a true expert in leveraging our platform to bring coding and robotics to life in the classroom. Beyond her role at Code for Kids, Alison has made significant contributions as a lecturer at Teachers Plus, an organization dedicated to developing exceptional educators. Her expertise in equipping future teachers with the skills to integrate coding and robotics in the classroom is invaluable. It is my pleasure to hand over to Alison, who will demonstrate how effortlessly you can implement coding and robotics in your own classroom using the Code for Kids platform.
Thank you for that flattering introduction, Demi. Now that you have a better understanding of the different skills and concepts that the CAP docs includes, I'm going to go into explaining some of these high-level competencies in greater detail. For this session, because the foundation phase curriculum is mandated for next year, I'll be demonstrating 2 foundation phase lessons. We're going to focus on digital concepts, which consists of digital citizenship, digital awareness, and digital skills. From the CAPS document, we can see that these are the key competencies for digital concepts and the corresponding codes. The lesson we are going to look at incorporates digital awareness. When we break it down, we see that digital awareness includes an awareness of different types of computing devices and their purpose, concepts of hardware and software, concepts of input, processing, and output, awareness of the internet as an example of a network, and that in a digital world, devices are often need to communicate with each other. In our grade 3 lesson, focusing on networks, we aim for learners to understand and differentiate between components of an ICT system, understand what a computer network is, and understand how a network works. These outcomes directly mirror the CAPS document of competencies D5, differentiate between the components of an ICT system, and D6, explain how the adaptation of technology impacted the world we live in. The lesson is introduced to the learners by getting them to name computer components and what their purpose is, followed by a fun activity. Each learner holds up a hand. Then they will be posed some questions, and each time their answer is yes, they drop a finger. For example, have you ever played a computer game on the internet? Have you ever watched a video on YouTube? Have you ever sent or received a WhatsApp message? Have you ever seen a photo of yourself on the internet? And have you ever watched a movie on Netflix? Well, in the end, every learner will have put down at least one finger to demonstrate that all learners have used the internet every day. Learners then participate in a game where a ball of string is passed across from learner to learner standing in a circle. The learners around the circle are either sending a message or receiving the message, receivers, and the strings are the cables connecting all the computers together. In the end, there's a giant web of string to demonstrate how the internet or the World Wide Web and networks are working. Finally, the learners get to consolidate their knowledge with an online activity on their Code for Kids school dashboard. Let's take a look. Just one moment. Here we have the Code for Kids dashboard and all the course cards for all the different grades. And we're going to take a look at our grade 3 lesson, all about networks together. Learning about networks together, in task 1, the students are going to use a drawing tool or a shape tool to go and join the different computers to a router to just demonstrate how a network is working. Task 2, the students are going to label different components of a computer, and they can discuss what all of these different components do. And then the students get to go and share some of their ideas about what life would be like without the internet. And they get some very, very interesting comments there. So they get the text box and they simply go and write. And we encourage them to write a positive and some negatives. This concludes the lesson. And we would love it if you could complete our poll now. It's time for you to get involved. In a minute, a poll will appear, and you can share with us what you think life would be like, or how it would influence you in a positive or negative way if the internet did not exist. Thank you for sharing that. This concludes our lesson. The other aspect of digital concepts is digital citizenship. This is a critical concept for teachers in guiding their learners into being good, responsible digital citizens. It is multifaceted and essential in the digital world our learners are growing up in. Now let's look at an offline digital citizenship lesson on digital identity and communicating safely online for a grade 2 class. By the end of this lesson, learners will be able to identify ways we communicate online, understand the importance of being safe online, how to create a safe password, and understand what is safe to share online. These outcomes match the CAPS document. Competencies D2, which is to recognize that he or she is living as a digital citizen in a digital world. Using an engaging presentation, teachers discuss with their learners which devices are used to communicate with each other and name other devices. The learners then identify methods of communication. This could be offline in the form of a letter, card, or phone calls, or online using devices. Learners can give examples of applications like email, text messaging, WhatsApp, and other familiar applications. Next, the learners watch a short digital safety video, and the URL will be available to all of you in the chat and resources for you to use later. In the video, a small digital imaginary dog has a nightmare about some personal information which has been stolen. The personal information is the credit card details of the children's mother. The details are linked to a gaming app the children signed up to, and money has been stolen from their account. Luckily, it is just a nightmare, but it gives the children an opportunity to discuss what is sensitive and private personal information and how we can protect it. The characters in the video talk about passwords and how to create a strong password. A fun way to create a password is to think of how a pizza is made. That's where you choose the base of the pizza is going to be 2 memorable words. Next will be the topping. These will be the numbers or characters and capital letters that you would add to the password to make it super strong. After the video, the teacher can recap the video by asking questions to check for understanding and even making their own strong passwords for one day when they may need one. Perhaps they can even help their parents to check if they have strong passwords. Finally, the learners complete the offline worksheet activity to consolidate their knowledge of what is safe to share online. Review the students' answers. So yes, it is okay to share our favorite food, but no, not okay to share your home address. Discuss all these different things, why it is safe and not safe to share these things online. These are essential digital awareness skills which all learners must be aware of and understand in order to be a good digital citizen. I hope these lessons and activities have given you some practical advice and better understanding of how to teach these concepts in a foundation phase class. Over to you, Demi.
Thank you, Alison, for sharing with us how easy and fun it can be to bring coding to the classroom. I'd like to open up to any questions that you have for the Code for Kids team or for Kim. Please remember, pop them in the Q&A tab and we'll ask them and get them answered for you. Okay. So first question, and Kim, I think this is a great question linking to resources. When is the best time to start purchasing physical robots? Like at what point can you suggest is the best time to buy physical robots?
I think, in my experience, I think one shouldn't rush to purchase the physical robots. I think once you are able to ensure that you have solid use of unplugged activities first and then move on to the devices, any software, only then do I feel that it's most beneficial to then purchase actual robots.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, Kim. That's it's a great way and it's a big thing teachers are nervous about is the amount of time and resources this is going to take. So it's a great thing to, start off in the unplugged way and then look to grow your resources. So another question, and maybe someone on our curriculum team can look at this. Kim, please feel free to add your insights here. How can teachers introduce coding and robotics when there are teachers that are used to teaching with like chalk and a chalkboard? And they do premise the question by saying it's not intended to discriminate against age in any way, but we do have a lot of teachers looking in our foundation phase that come from an era of chalk and chalkboard. How do they start teaching coding and robotics? Jackie, I see
Would
you.
you like me to jump in there? I love answering this question because I am not a youngster and I've been teaching coding robotics for a while, and it really isn't an age thing. It's exactly as Kim says. Take a chance, start slowly. Even if there's a couple of different sort of learning areas, you don't have to attack all of them at once. Start with the unplugged on digital citizenship, because that's something we are pretty much in general knowledge, a lot of us teachers know about. So start there, just one little part of it. We have a little bit of time for intermediate and senior phase. And with the little ones, you've been doing teaching for a long time. You've got the hard part covered. Coding robotics, just pick it up one at a time. I promise you, you won't go back. You will absolutely love it. Thanks, Demi.
Thank you,
Jackie, I'd
Jackie.
like
And Jackie is Code for Kids Head of Curriculum, who really has played a great role in bringing the Code for Kids CAPS Coding and Robotics Curriculum to life. So thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing that. Alison?
Well, I'd just like to say something similar along the lines of what Jackie said, is that teachers, as in a natural way, want to know everything. But I think with coding and robotics, there's no way you can ever know everything. So the most important thing is to dive in there, give it a try yourself, the same way that Kim mentioned, but also learn from the kids. I mean, these kids are born with devices in their hands these days. So allow them to even show each other and to teach you as well. So don't be afraid to collaborate with the students and figure things out together. So that's what I always find, that I learn so much more from my students when I do these lessons. So that's what my advice would be.
That's such brilliant advice, Alison. And like I recall being in the classroom and teaching, and the students would come up with the most amazing bit of like code, or they'll figure something out, and it's amazing to see and learn from them. When you say they're born with devices in their hands, you are absolutely right. So they are going to teach you things that you never thought was actually possible. I also feel like, just sharing with teachers, you mentioned teachers want to be prepared as much as we possibly can, but there is no harm, there is no embarrassment in saying, that's a really great question. I will get back to you on that. Follow it up, go look it up, go figure it out, ask your support network of teachers, get that answer and go back to your student. It doesn't have to be, I need to know all the answers immediately. Kim, anything to add on that?
No, I'm just nodding because, in fact, that happened to me today. My grade sevens are busy doing a project on the Code for Kids platform, and they wanted to know how to do something. And I said, girls, I'll make a note of that and I will find out for you and I'll get back to you when I see you again. And they are absolutely fine with that. I think, it's almost like, dare I say it, like I have to put my pride in my pocket, and just acknowledge that I'm not going to be the most knowledgeable person in the room always. And it's difficult, but I must say it's quite freeing once you just accept that, either the kids are going to teach you things, which is amazing, or you're going to just have to take some time to go and figure out the answer to their question, which is fine.
Absolutely. And like you've said, there is an amazing EdTech community out there where teachers want to support each other. They want to help each other out. So really reach out to as many teachers as you know, or reach out to the Code for Kids team and we'll put you in contact with teachers as well. Really, really great. Okay, so the next question that we're seeing coming through is, what are effective ways to assess students' learning in coding and robotics? Kim, maybe want to share some insight on how you assess coding and robotics with your students?
Sure. So largely we do observation based off a rubric, and I incorporate the computational thinking model in my rubric, and I try to observe the progress over a few lessons. So although we're working on the skill, for the unit for a few lessons, I don't just observe in the final lesson. I will continually be in touch with what my students are able to do, and that will inform how I assess them using the rubric. So at this stage, we're trying to avoid a written test situation, because now we still have the freedom to do that. So I work together with our head of academics to develop rubrics. And like I said, if people are wanting to see an example of one of those, you're welcome to pop me an email and I'm happy to share those. We're all here to help each other.
Fantastic. That's a great way to look at it is, observations, and not just observations in one lesson, but rather observations over multiple lessons over a skill, essentially. That's a
Yeah.
lovely way to put that. Thank you. One of the questions we see coming through is, like, what software platforms or coding programs are suitable for beginners? So I'm going to start here by saying Code for Kids is really suitable for beginners. That's what we intended for the curriculum to be easy for people to adopt, especially if you don't come from a background of coding and robotics. Kim, other platforms?
So if I can just jump on that, Demi, obviously I am a fan of the Code for Kids platform, and the thing that I love the most about it is that it provides room for extension for those who are ready to fly. I think, especially in this coding and robotics kind of area, we kind of master what's expected, but we might not be ready to extend the students who are ready to be extended. And I love that the Code for Kids platform allows for that. There's always a chance for them to go ahead or try something more challenging while the rest are still busy with the normal class content. So just to add to that as well. But then, things like is it just software or also like resources, physical resources?
It's software platforms or programming language. I'm sure resources will be a great benefit to know of as well.
Okay, so one of the tools that is a really great introductory is the 6 bricks. It's just a stack of 6 colorful like Duplo blocks, and you can actually introduce a lot of programming language using those. But then also the software tools like Scratch Junior is a great one. Microbit has incredible resources online as well. So yeah, I would say those are the best ones in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. And to add to that, the Code for Kids platform does incorporate some Scratch Junior lessons in our foundation phase classes, as well as Scratch lessons in our grade 3 curriculum. So it's a great addition and balance coming in there. Kim, this one is really going to be for you because I think it's a perfectly suited question. How can we encourage more girls to take an interest in coding and robotics from a young age?
That is a great question. And yeah, something that we work hard at here at Wynberg Girls. I think the biggest thing for us, and we're working on it currently, we haven't always got it right, is just to have early exposure. Exposure to, learning opportunities, but also exposure to women who have successfully become part of that community in their careers. Although, a grade 2 student might not understand what a software developer is, but, having career talks or guest speakers of women in the space, I think is one of the ways that we are trying to get more girls interested from a young age.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. And that's such a great question. Thank you, whoever did ask that question, because it is such an important thing to get girls interested in coding and get them excited about that. So Kim, another question that's coming through a little bit in the classroom here is, how do you make coding and robotics lessons engaging and exciting? What do you do to make them exciting?
Oh, wow. I think just the mere fact that it's hands-on, this is not a subject that you can teach from the front of your classroom on a chalkboard or a whiteboard. It's very much experiential learning, getting the students involved. I think one of the big things is making sure that the lesson's objective is achievable, trying to create that low floor, high ceiling situation. It's not always possible, but just to make sure that the students aren't feeling disheartened. If they come across a coding problem that they struggle, it's like too difficult for them, then I often see that there's a little bit of disengagement. But if the objective of the lesson is achievable, but also has that high ceiling. So yes, I achieved this, but also I can take it way further. I would say, in my opinion, like that's the way to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. That's great advice about allowing the students that extra space to explore more and to, dig a little bit deeper and, dig into it more if they are interested in it. And then I'm going to do one more question for you, because I think we've asked a lot of questions about excitement and devices and robotics and things like that. But teachers also are really interested to know, what are some of the biggest challenges you find implementing coding and robotics in the foundation phase?
So a personal challenge of mine is that I am actually an InterSen trained teacher. So personally, I struggle with the foundation phase, building those basic understanding with the students. So I think, for me, it was about just slowing it right down and engaging with the foundation phase class teachers to find out, best practice for how to introduce new concepts and things like that. But I think in general, it's just some of the challenges, I think, is making sure that everyone is on board. This is not something that falls on one person alone in the school, or it shouldn't be. So yeah, I think just trying to overcome the preconceived idea that it has to be high tech all the time. It doesn't. Coding and robotics, as we've said many times today, start with the unplugged. A lot of people, the challenge is just like it's too much, but just to slow it down, have a look at the curriculum. I've said it before, it's a great help. It provides a framework to all this overwhelmed feeling. So yeah, I think that's one of the most challenging parts.
Thanks, Kim. And thank you for sharing that. It's not always easy to find those difficult moments and then share about it as well. But it's really great, and it's comforting to teachers also to know that somebody who's been doing this for years like you still have challenges that pop up on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis. I'm gonna ask Jackie if you can maybe answer this question a little bit, and then Kim, maybe share a bit of your insight into this one as well. Could you give any tips on how to fit coding and robotics into a timetable? So Jackie, I know a lot's been shared in the CAPS document. You maybe want to share a little bit about how they fit coding and robotics into the timetable.
Yeah, it's been quite interesting seeing the innovative ways that teachers are already incorporating it. For foundation phase particularly, I think as you go through the curriculum and you spend time with other teachers in the foundation phase, you are going to find that the integration into other subjects is phenomenal. And it's not the normal subjects. It's not necessarily your mathematics or, those sort of things. It is across the board. So if you are having problems now finding time, or it hasn't, and because it hasn't been mandated yet when exactly it's going to be taken from, start just working in a classroom that is already going. So when they have a classroom where they were doing counting, etc., work with blocks. As Kim says, the little 6 bricks is one of the most amazing little ways that children can learn about receiving and giving instructions, which is a huge part of coding robotics. Computational thinking, giving instructions that somebody can actually follow. Children don't always realize it's a step by step. So for now, until the schools find space, I would probably insert myself into a few class lessons, and I think teachers would be eternally grateful anyway, and start practicing with a few of the concepts that are being used. So that's probably how I would get started. Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. Kim, how have you fit coding and robotics into your school's timetable?
Yeah, I think following on from what Jackie said, you know, the algorithm design can be integrated into an English lesson when you're talking about, you know, sequencing of a story or things like that. So yeah, as Jackie said, jump into one of the classroom lessons and you'll be amazed. The way that we have fitted in at the moment is to integrate, you know, with subjects. So I'm continually in communication with each grade to have a rough idea of what's going on in their lessons, and then I will try to integrate my coding and robotics lesson with the content that they are doing to ensure that we're not losing class time. You know, the flow is there.
Thanks, Kim. That's, you know, that's a great place for teachers to start off, is use what you're doing in the other classes, in the other subjects, and, you know, try and bring in some of those coding concepts there. Thank you. I'm going to end with one last question, and this was about the robotics again and bringing in some robots. Kim, what would be your advice to which phase is it best to introduce a physical robot? Like, which phase or grade do you suggest it's best to integrate that physical robot?
Sure, that's a difficult question because I think, you know, it depends on a lot of situations. But I would definitely say at the moment, probably with the unplugged foundations starting next year to be really solid and strong, I would say possibly look at introducing physical robots maybe towards the end of foundation phase, possibly around grade 3 or grade 4. But really important to say, you know, I feel that it's almost a wasted opportunity if the foundations are not there, because you know, there's a lot of excitement around having a robot, but if you're not really sure how it works or how it receives information, it's lost, you know. So once those students who are getting this new curriculum next year move up, I would say maybe look towards those grades.
Thank you so much, Kim. That's actually such brilliant advice, is, you know, get that foundation skills done first and then bring that in.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop with questions here so that we can end on time. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Alison, and thank you, Jackie, for answering these questions that teachers are having. If we haven't managed to answer any of your questions, please just keep them coming in the chat, in the Q&A tab, actually, and our team will answer them either before we close off today's session, or like I mentioned, they will pop an email to you with these answers. Thank you to the team, and thank you, Kim, for taking the time to answer these questions. Our goal for today was to equip you with the practical strategies and resources to help you start your school's coding journey. To support your efforts, Code for Kids offers all teachers a full term's worth of content for grade R all the way to grade 9 on our Code for Kids platform, totally free of charge. This includes comprehensive teacher guides, engaging presentations, and unlimited student signups. We believe that every teacher should have the tools to bring coding and robotics to life in the classroom, and we're committed to making that happen. So if you have not done so already, sign up for your free account today. You can scan the QR code on screen or use the link that will be popped in the chat. Earlier this week, we asked the EdTech community for some help, and we compiled a list of free resources to help you teach coding and robotics. Again, you can scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the chat to access these resources. All the resources, including a recording of today's session, will be shared with you post the webinar. So what comes next? Following this webinar, we'll send you an email with the recording from today, a link to get your certificate of attendance, and all the resources discussed today. Take some time and read through these resources, as they will be most valuable to you as you embark on this journey. If you have any questions for our team, please do not hesitate to reach out to us by visiting c4k.io. I want to take this opportunity to thank our experts, Kim and Alison, for sharing some amazing tips, tricks, and resources. And a big thank you to each one of you for attending today's session. It was lovely to have you all join us. We hope you found this extremely valuable, and we hope to see you in future sessions that we host. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, everybody. Kim, Alison, thank you so much again for joining us, and we look forward to hosting you again soon. Thanks, everybody.